It started with a question so simple, so direct, that it should have taken 5 seconds to answer. But instead, it triggered one of the most defensive, chaotic, and downright panicked responses an attorney general has displayed in a Senate hearing in years. One moment, Senator Jeff Merkley was asking about foreign investors at a private dinner, and the next, Pam Bondi was exploding into a wall of outrage, shifting to unrelated talking points, and refusing to address the subject, as if even acknowledging it would open a door she couldn't close again.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and welcome, Attorney General. And I'm sorry I wasn't here for the whole hearing, so it's been addressed, but I think you really are very sensitive to the possibility of foreign agents or foreign influence on our government and making sure that we make sure that doesn't happen.
Yes.
Yes. I want to know if when the president held his dinner for 220 individuals who purchased the most of his meme coins, were there foreign interests attending that dinner?
Senator, we're here to talk about the Department of Justice and my budget for the upcoming year. I would think that you would want to talk about the leader of the Sinaloa cartel who was living in Oregon, one of the top leaders. I would think that that's what you would want to talk about with me. When we captured him, he had $3 million cash in his home.
Attorney General, I know that you avoided the same question on the House side, but what we know is that many folks who attended this dinner were buying those coins because they wanted to influence U.S. policy. We had Mr. Javier Selgas, the head of Freight Technology, Inc., who said, I bought $2 million of these coins. I plan to buy $20 million because I want a favor from the president to change the policy regarding freight from Mexico to the United States. This solicitation of investments in his personal product, his meme coin, led to many people who were coming from foreign countries attending that dinner. Don't you think the American people have a right to know? And you said yourself you're very concerned about foreign influence on our government.
Senator, it is wildly offensive that you would accuse President Trump of not protecting American interests in our country when he is the president that has shut down our borders, unlike Joe Biden. President Trump has done everything to make America safe, and you asked me the question, and keep America safe.
Do you
and
know
you're trying to play a gotcha question at a budget hearing when you have murders left and right in your state, violent crimes, and we are doing everything we can to help your liberal state. Whether you're liberal or not, we're going to do everything we can to help the citizens of your state, and you're trying to avoid that because you're trying to play a gotcha question with the President of the United States, and it's not going to work. We're here to talk about our budget for public safety.
I do believe that as the leader of the Department of Justice, you should be concerned about foreign influence. There was obviously a lot of foreign influence and individuals who said they were there for that reason. And so will you appoint a special investigator to make sure that that foreign influence does not affect the policies of the United States of America?
I'm not going to tell you what I will or will not do, other than I will do everything to keep the people of your state safe, even though you don't want to talk about anything to do with your state because of the crime in your state. You also voted no on the Laken-Riley Act. We are doing everything we can to protect the citizens of this country. You also said that President Trump encouraged protest. It was the opposite. He's done everything he can to keep us safe, and he will continue to, as well as the Department of Justice.
It speaks volumes that you won't answer the question about transparency when the president is asking people to invest in his company and his products, and that foreigners are attending these events. I think transparency would be appropriate. Are you going to recommend any ethics guidelines to make sure that foreign influence does not find its way in through the doors of the White House?
How do you characterize foreigners, the illegal aliens that have flowed into our country? Is that who you're talking about? You don't want to talk about them. You don't want to talk about the crime that has gone rampant throughout this country and your state.
Well, you know, these hearings are a chance for us to ask questions, and I assure you I'm engaged in national security in many, many ways. But this also I am concerned about, and let me turn to a different piece of the puzzle, because the president also has another cryptocurrency called USD One, it is a stable coin. There was a request by UAE to produce AI chips that would go to UAE. The National Security Advisor of UAE is also the CEO of MGX. So after that request for those chips occurred, MGX then said, we will buy 2 billion, billion with a B, of the president's coins. And then the president went to the Middle East and said, we will get you those AI chips. Does this sequence of events in which a foreign government asked for a big favor, and we had previously banned these chips to UAE because of the national security concerns. Then they buy $2 billion of the president's coins, and then the president goes to the Middle East and says, we will provide those chips. Does that sequence of events concern you about foreign influence on the United States of America?
The foreign influence on America that I would be concerned about if I were you was the Mexican national that resided in Oregon, who we just arrested, who had 384 pounds of methamphetamine. The foreign individual who I would be concerned about if I were a senator from Oregon is the Honduran drug trafficker who was residing in Portland for distributing fentanyl. The foreign national I would be concerned about if I was a Portland senator, an Oregon senator, is a Mexican national leader of a drug trafficking ring. Another one, fentanyl, firearms, fatal overdoses, all in your state.
You have made your point.
57,700 fentanyl pills and stolen firearms in Oregon. That's what we should work together on, not gotcha questions during a budget hearing.
Let me recognize Senator Merkley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The Attorney General certainly has made the point that she's very concerned about issues that I'm concerned about as well regarding the security of this country. But let the record note that in terms of foreign influence and the sale of foreign influence through the president's coins, she absolutely refuses to respond and instead turns to a whole list of different topics. I think it's important for the leader of the Justice Department of the United States to be very concerned about foreign influence, and I encourage you to take on that topic and not consider it an offense that those of us who are concerned here, Democrats and Republicans, want Americans to make American decisions, not foreign influence being bought through crypto coins.
Senator Murkowski.
Chairman.
And that's what grabbed everyone's attention. Not the question itself, but the way she reacted to it. Because sometimes the answer you refuse to give tells a lot more than the one you do. Merkley didn't open with accusations. He didn't deliver a speech. He simply asked whether foreign nationals were in the room when more than 200 buyers of the president's personal crypto coins gathered for a private dinner. Not a fundraiser, not a policy event, not a campaign rally. A private dinner for people who bought the most of his memecoin. The kind that isn't regulated like a campaign contribution and doesn't have the same transparency rules. And since crypto payments can move quietly across borders, concern about foreign money entering American politics isn't just reasonable. It's National Security 101. But the second Merkley finished the question, the entire hearing shifted. Bondi didn't pause to consider her answer. She didn't clarify. She didn't even pretend to address it. Instead, she launched into a completely unrelated rant about cartel crime in Oregon, as if that had anything to do with who showed up at a private crypto holder dinner at a luxury venue. Her voice rose, her tone sharpened, and suddenly she was talking about meth busts, fentanyl pills, and gang violence, none of which Merkley had mentioned. It was a pivot so fast it didn't even feel like a deflection. It felt like panic, and Merkley noticed it instantly. Because he didn't move on. He didn't let her bury the question under a mountain of crime statistics. He restated the question, clearly, calmly. Were foreign nationals present at that dinner? Did the Department of Justice even examine the possibility of foreign influence tied to crypto purchases? It should have been an easy moment for a confident attorney general. Instead, she doubled down. More anger, more blame shifting, more attempts to make Merkley the issue instead of the question he asked. She accused him of playing gotcha. She accused him of ignoring crime. She accused him of targeting the president unfairly. But she didn't accuse him of being wrong. She didn't deny the reports. And she definitely didn't answer the question. What Merkley was asking about isn't obscure. It isn't hidden. It isn't something only insiders know. Reports have been circulating for months about individuals who bought large amounts of the president's memecoin specifically because they believed it would give them influence. Not political donations, influence tied directly to his personal financial product. One of them, Javier Selgas of Freight Technology Incorporated, even said publicly that he bought millions of dollars worth because he wanted a favor from the presidency involving freight rules at the Mexican border. That alone raised eyebrows. But according to rumors and investigative reporting, he wasn't the only one with a vested interest in policy outcomes. Some attendees reportedly came from overseas: business owners, investors, and individuals tied to industries that depend heavily on U.S. trade and regulatory decisions. And while not every rumor is verified, what's been said publicly has been enough to spark real concern. Foreign investors were allegedly purchasing these coins with the expectation that proximity to the president could help tilt U.S. policy in directions favorable to them. Whether that's true or not, the public deserves to know if people with international ties were in that room. But instead of answering, Bondi treated the question as an attack, not an inquiry. She painted herself as the victim of a political ambush while accusing Merkley of ignoring crime in Oregon, as though fentanyl seizures were somehow more relevant to his question than the possibility of foreign influence inside the White House. If it were just this one moment of avoidance, it might be easy to dismiss. But what happened next turned this from a tense exchange into something much bigger. Merkley moved from the memecoin dinner to something even more troubling. He asked about a separate cryptocurrency, the president's stablecoin, known as $1. And this part of the story has circulated widely through policy circles because the timeline surrounding it is questionable. To put it lightly, here's how Merkley laid it out. A foreign power, the UAE, had a major interest in securing access to advanced AI chips. Chips the United States had previously banned from being exported to them over national security concerns. According to public reporting and industry chatter, the UAE's national security advisor also leads a major tech and investment firm called MGX. Around the same time, UAE officials were reportedly asking the U.S. for access to these restricted chips, MGX signaled its intention to purchase up to $2 billion. Yes, billion with a B, of the president's stablecoin, and shortly after that, the president reportedly declared during a Middle East trip that the U.S. would work to get those AI chips approved. Now, to be clear, these events are not confirmed to be directly linked. But the sequence raised every possible red flag. A foreign government wants restricted technology. A company tied to that government buys massive amounts of the president's personal crypto, and soon after, a previously rejected tech transfer request suddenly gets new life. Merkley didn't say it was fact. He didn't accuse Bondi of wrongdoing. He simply asked, "Does this timeline concern you? Does this at least warrant scrutiny? Does the Department of Justice think it's appropriate for a president's financial interests to be wrapped up in foreign entities tied to national security requests?" Bondi didn't touch that question either. Instead, she spiraled deeper into a barrage of unrelated crime stories. More drugs, more gangs, more references to your liberal state. She wasn't answering anymore. She was deflecting so aggressively it didn't even resemble a normal Senate exchange. Senators ask tough questions every day. Cabinet officials respond every day. But her refusal wasn't defensive, it was frantic. It was the reaction of someone who knew that the question itself had struck somewhere she didn't want to go. And Merkley noticed that too. After multiple attempts, he finally put it plainly. Let the record show that the Attorney General absolutely refuses to answer whether foreign influence was bought through the president's coins. No anger, no theatrics, just a statement. And it landed harder than any dramatic accusation could have. Because when an official refuses to answer a factual question about something that can be verified, who attended a dinner, that silence becomes its own kind of evidence. It suggests that the answer may not be flattering. It suggests transparency would be damaging. It suggests there's something behind the curtain that someone desperately doesn't want the public to see. And that's why the hearing exploded across political circles. This isn't a left-right issue. This isn't about party wars or talking points. This is about something far more fundamental. Can foreign nationals buy influence by purchasing a president's personal cryptocurrency? Is that even being monitored? And if not, why isn't the nation's top law enforcement official concerned? Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Foreign interference doesn't always look like espionage or hacking or back-channel deals. Sometimes it looks like something as simple as a crypto wallet. Sometimes it looks like investors showing up to a dinner because they bought digital tokens tied to the personal brand of the most powerful person in the country. And if those investors happen to come from nations with strategic interests in U.S. policy, the danger writes itself. What makes Bondi's reaction even more alarming isn't the anger. It's the refusal to even acknowledge the premise. She didn't say, no foreign nationals were there. She didn't say, we reviewed it. She didn't say, we investigated. She didn't say, we found no evidence of wrongdoing. She didn't even give a rehearsed legal disclaimer. She avoided the topic entirely, as if saying anything at all might unlock a chain of questions she couldn't control. But her silence became the answer. Merkley made that clear when he stated, in front of the entire committee, that transparency should never be optional, especially when it involves foreign interests buying proximity to power. Bondi's meltdown wasn't just defensive. It revealed something. And whether what it revealed is guilt, fear, or political pressure, that's exactly why this moment matters. Because if foreign investors were in that room, if foreign companies were buying stablecoins tied to the presidency, if policy shifted after massive purchases by foreign entities, if all of this is connected, then the American public deserves to know. And if the Attorney General won't say it, someone else needs to ask. Because the question still stands, unanswered and unresolved. Who was in that room? Who bought access? Who stood beside a sitting president at a private dinner after purchasing large quantities of his personal cryptocurrency? And what did they expect in return? Until that list is public, until the timeline is clear, and until the Department of Justice answers the questions they should have addressed on day one, every American, regardless of party, should care about this. Because democracy doesn't disappear overnight. It disappears one transaction at a time, one unexamined access point at a time, one unanswered question at a time. And that's why Merkley's persistence matters. He wasn't debating policy. He wasn't scoring political points. He was asking who is influencing the decisions that affect all of us. If that question bothers people in power, that tells you everything. If you found this breakdown important, make sure to subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that actually shape our government, not just the ones turned into headlines. Stay alert, stay informed, and don't let these hearings fade into the background. When powerful people dodge the truth, that's when citizens must pay attention. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like the video to help spread the word.